Hey guys, Chris from the Ultimate Recycler. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to part 3 of this auction series that was never going to be 3 parts, but we'll finalise everything in this one. What we're going to do is just go through some of the better stuff we got, show you a few of the things cleaned up, and explain what we do with some of them, including all these oil boxes here. And then we'll go through my list and Christine's list and just show you exactly how profitable this auction was. It was a ripper. You don't get auctions like this all the time. If you haven't seen the other parts, I'll put the links underneath. We had a lot of fun bidding. We filled the van. We had to go back with the Ute trailer. And we sold so much stuff, we sold a lot the first day. So I'll explain what we've done, what profits we've made, and we'll just have a look at some of the cleaning up jobs I'm doing. Okay, let's start with all these oil boxes. I think I paid $40 for one pile and $10 for a few more, so I paid $50. Now they've cleaned up really well. I did spend nearly an hour out the back with the hose and a scrubbing brush because they were full of dust and cobwebs and wasps' nests. They're not in the best condition, but they cleaned up pretty well. I did a few repairs, and I might just point out that if you're going to fix up old timber boxes, because these were in the shed, and in fact I think they copped a lot of sun, so a lot of them cracked. The timber is really brittle, and this packing case timber splits very easily. So once they were wet, well and truly wet after scrubbing them, that's the time to punch in a few nails, to fix up a few wonky bits. I didn't go to too much trouble, but they are fairly stable now. They're not that rickety, and when they're wet is by far a better way of doing it. Now also, once you've got them ready, don't leave them in the sun, because what will happen is that some thicker parts will stay wet and the thinner parts will dry quickly and they will warp, especially one side gets hot from the sun, the other side stays cool, and the timber will warp and it'll pull nails out and they'll split more. So once I'd finished washing them all up, I put them in the back here, in the back of the shop, and I'll let them dry overnight out of the sun, and they've dried nice and straight and pretty good. Now, I can't really fix these cracks. I'm not going to go to the trouble. One of them I did actually glue. I think this one, the crack was fairly recent and it just fitted together nicely, so I just put a little bit of glue and clamped it overnight. But and the other thing I've done is I've given them a light beeswax. So I just had a rag and a little bit of beeswax. You can buy it at any of your hardware stores, and it brings the colour of the timber out, it brings the grain out, and it does bring the colour back a little bit in the artwork. And you can see on this shell end here, one half I've beeswaxed and the other half is left original. So I think it just gives a nicer finish, and it does nourish the timber a little bit. It might stop it splitting in the future. So the other thing I've done, and I mentioned in the first video, is these were workshop shelves, and whoever made them used ends off other boxes to make shelves because they would have set up on their ends. So there was a couple that were worth taking out. I think this box, I took one of the shelves out, and it was in such good nick that will sell on its own. I'd probably get $25 to $30 just for that end. And there was one other that I rescued, was a Texaco oil or motor spirit box end with good colour. The rest of them I all left there because a lot of them were a little bit warped and some were split, and it wasn't worth knocking the boxes apart. I don't really like knocking all the boxes apart. These are the best ends, by the way. The other ends aren't too bad, but some of them are more split and less artwork. And you do have to be careful scrubbing them because the artwork can actually scrub right off. So I'm really happy with how those came up. $50 spent. I'm going to actually ask $50 per box, and I think they'll sell pretty quickly and they'll be a great display in the shop. So given that I'll probably get $30 for the individual ends as well, that equates to over $500 if I sell them all at around about that price. So pretty happy with that lot, and they'll look fantastic in the shop. So I'll go and put those up, and let's have a look at some of the other things, and I'll probably do a voiceover in this section, some of the other things and how they cleaned up and what prices I've got on them. Okay, for a start, I'll show you what I did with those signs. I decided to keep these. They look great on the side of the shop. They're kind of indicative of antiques and collectibles, and they're vintage looking themselves, and the colour scheme's perfect for my old shop. So that's where they are. The frame here was a drag saw I've mentioned a few times. It looks awesome on the stones. I like to have a bit of farm machinery on the stones beside the shop, chained up, and it looks good. Likewise, I put these platform scales out here. These have actually sold already. I got $160 for these first day. And the old engine I took down to the car wash and pressure washed it. It's on a little trolley in the shop. It's not really ideal there in a little walkway, but it's on display at $125. These Salter scales, hanging scales, all I did with these was give that faceplate a little bit of a polish with steel wool. I didn't want it too shiny. You can read it nicely. It looks vintage and it works beautifully. $55 on that one. Now these were a nice little bonus. These were in a box of cutlery that we paid $2 for. This is a vintage German pocket knife. Excellent condition. We'll get $30 for that one. This little pocket knife is a promotional one, Atlantic, very collectible amongst the petrol guys, and it was for a local Euroa business, so that's the town we actually bought the stuff from. $30 again. And the vintage Coca-Cola bottle opener, probably 1970s. They're pretty popular like most Coke stuff. Just get $20 for that one, but that's good out of a $2 box. And the mantle clock ended up working beautifully. I'll leave it chime here in the background. It plays a Westminster chimes. It's just gone 3 o'clock. It's keeping good time. I really didn't have to do anything to it. And I think I paid $30 for that one. It was up at the other property, if you remember. So it does a Westminster chime, and then it does 3 strikes for 3 o'clock. So excellent, and I'll put $175 on that one. Now, some music. I got 1 box of the records. Christine grabbed the other 2. Records are always really good value. I priced out all these, mostly 5 or 10, some were 20. And I think my record box worked out at about $200 retail. Christine would have done a lot better, and I think we only paid $40 for all the records. So as long as they're not old waltzes and early stuff, records are really good value. They're making a comeback. Always love getting records. Cassettes, I actually, just on a whim, I paid $2 for this box lot of cassettes. I put them out the very first day, and I sold 4 of them at $5. So, look, they're not all going to get $5. I'll let my customers decide on that. But yeah, great profit margins here. And people love looking through, and it brings back memories of cassettes they used to have when they were kids. So, good sellers there. Now, with the electronic stuff, I think I paid $20 for all the hi-fi gear. Turns out it all worked perfectly. $125 on the cassette deck. I've safety tested these and cleaned them up a little bit. The turntable absolutely played beautifully. I put $195 on that. I thought the belt might have been broken or perished, but no, it worked. Has the book and everything. You can see my safety tag on the cord there. I love buying hi-fi gear because I can fix it if it doesn't work. And the amp and the tuner, I'm just flicking through the stations here. It works just beautifully. I could not fault it. And I'm going to put, I think I put $195 on the amp and about $50 on the tuner. And it's picking up these stations just with that short lead on top as an antenna. So really works well. If I didn't have a nice hi-fi set up at home, I would keep this, but it'll sell quickly. People love this stuff. Now, the China, the Carlton Ware Rouge Royale, looks awesome in the cabinet. I priced this lot out at about $300. The coffee pot will sell very well, and also the lamp I found a shade for, tested that, looks great in the shop. Excellent stuff. Now, this fender, I was going to try and restore it, but in light of recent developments with where my shop is and the fact that landlords are going to sell, I decided that I'll just put it together finger tight. Someone else can do it as a project. I love those figural brass pieces that look like King Neptune. Very awesome piece. It does need a lot of work, but it looks pretty cool. I'm going to put $30 on that as it is, and someone else can do it as a project. And I got a few leftover bits. I realized these little beaded brass pieces went around the little channel there, but they're a bit damaged and some were missing, so they might go in the brass bin. But what a great vintage, probably early 1900s fireplace fender. Really awesome piece. And the other clock I bought, I think I paid $50 for this one. It's a late 1800s wall clock. It's a Sessions, which is an American clock. Sort they used in railway stations and schools. It runs beautifully. I put $195 on that one. So there you go, guys. The old clock. I love the old clocks ticking, especially in a large room with high ceilings. They just have such character. I know some people get sick of the noise, and particularly chiming clocks. People turn the chimes off, but I don't know, I love them. And after a while, you'd barely hear the chimes. It's just part of the background. But I like that clock. If we had room for it at home, I'd probably take it home. But you can only have so many clocks, can't you? It should sell well. Pretty happy with that piece. I like to take a punt on some of those things because I like to fix them if they don't work. And sometimes, like both of these clocks from this auction, sometimes you have a win, really cheap price, because people are scared of looking at them themselves and are rightly scared of what it would cost them to send it to a clock repairer to get it fixed, whereas I've got the advantage that I can do it myself. But in this case, both of them work beautifully, good profit makers for me. So I hope you enjoyed that run through of all the stuff. It wasn't a top 10, it was just some of the better stuff I got, and showing you, what I did, a bit of cleaning up and that sort of stuff, and the decisions I make when I work out how to sell things. So before we wind this video up, I'll give you a look at my actual stock list from this auction. I haven't tallied it up yet, but it's going to be an obscenely good profit. And I'll show you Christine's score too. She didn't spend as much as me, and she is keeping that nice cabinet. But we'll have a look at her stock list as well before we wind this video up and just see how much profit we're actually going to make from this one day out. So without any further ado, here's the figures. We've just had a busy Sunday in the shop. I've got to get this video up today, so let's run through the figures. You can see I've actually sold a lot of stuff already. You can freeze the screen if you want to scan through and see exactly what I got for things. I actually sold that salt tin the first day I had the shop open. Got my 150 for that. Very happy there. Let's have a flick through. I ended up with nearly 6 pages, or just over 5 pages of stock. The German mantle clock, the nice one that came from the other house, I've actually got on hold for a gentleman who's a regular customer, so we can pretty well consider that sold as well. Sold a lot of smaller bits and pieces. A lot of these little things you didn't see. I've already mentioned I sold the platform scales. And it just keeps going. So I've actually sold another 1 or 2 music cassettes today. I think I haven't written down yet. Quickly scanning through these, we sold 4 oil boxes yesterday, 4 at $50 each. And the guy wanted to do a deal on the whole lot, and I wasn't prepared to yet because they're pretty much just new stock. What else have we got? The bath feet sold today, pretty much the first day in the shop. I put them in yesterday morning. So we are really ticking through the stock. Got a really good return on this deal so far already, and I'll show you what it all adds up to soon. By the way, the figures on this side are what I actually price things out at, and as they sell, I update the stock list. It's just how I like to run my business. I like to do old-fashioned pen and paper. I don't do records on my computer or anything. The pocket knives and things there I've only just put in. The Sessions wall clock you saw. Now, I haven't included the Victor lawnmower because I've taken that home, and also the Starburst clock as yet. Let's look at the figures. Okay, my cost $530. Items priced out at nearly $4,500, plus the Starburst clock. I valued it $500 as it is. It does need the corrosion on a battery terminal fixed up. The mower as it was, if I was going to sell it $50, I'd value it at. And various sundries, a few odd tools I found I took home, and a few workshop consumables, about $50 worth. So my cost to what I'm trying to retail at is nearly pretty much 10 times, or very close to. So that's pretty amazing. It was a great auction. Incidentally, this stuff I've already sold, so I've got over $1,000 back. Oh, and I failed to mention that drag saw frame. Just sold it late this afternoon at $175 as well, and that's the clock that's on hold. So we're over $1,200, $1,300 already back in the kitty, and my shop has only been open for about 5 trading days since the actual auction. We're only opening weekends at this stage. So keep your prices cheap, turn it over quickly. I think that's a secret to a good business. Of course, you need to buy cheap, and we certainly did. Christine's figures, most of hers was, I think it cost us $180 out of her $330 cost, was on that beautiful big display cabinet. We've put it as a $1,000 figure. I think she's actually going to price it at $1,000, but we really don't want to sell it. But there may well be someone that would be prepared to pay that. The rest of her stock priced out at almost $1,800. So fantastic return for her as well. So in total, we spent, what's that, $860, and we're looking at almost $8,000 back. So how good was that auction? And geez, I'd love to go to one of these quite regularly. It just doesn't happen, but when they do come along, you've got to enjoy them. And that finishes our auction series that was only going to be one video, turned out to be three. I hope you enjoyed it. I know you like prices on things, and I know most people like to see others pick up a bargain. And, you know, those of you that have commented, and the first video now has been up, and I think I put the second one up now, and people are loving the auctions and say, please do more of these. We hope to be able to get to them. Now, many of you will know who follow my channel that my future's a little bit up in the air with the fact that my shop's being sold. And some people said, I didn't think you were going to be buying more stock, and then you go to this auction and buy a heap more. Well, the auction actually happened kind of the day or so I found out, so we couldn't not go, and things were just so cheap we went berserk and bought. So I'm not really buying any more stock at the moment until I know what's happening with my shop. There will be a few more videos come up soon on other deals I'm doing, but they've all started before I found out what's going on. And, you know, you like looking at stuff I buy and unpacking boxes and valuations. So we'll keep going with those while I've got the footage. For those that haven't seen part 1 or part 2, there's the Jungen Starburst clock that I've referred to. It was a great find, and no one else at the auction knew that they were quite so valuable. They used to bring about 700. I valued this one at 500 because it's got some corrosion, but I will fix it up. And I've got a friend that might be interested in that anyway. I'll leave you with one last thing. A little unusual item I got out of a box, just to see if anyone knows what it is, because I don't. So if you know what this is, leave some comments underneath. I'll leave you with some footage of it. Thanks for watching this video and this series. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now. So here's this mystery item. I don't know what it's from. There's no markings on it. It appears to have serrations on the inside as if it clamps onto something, and it does actually have like a ratchet lock this end to tighten up on something and clamp it. This side is sort of tapered as if it's supposed to slide in something. It's a little rusty, but it is in operational condition. I just don't know what it is. So if you have any ideas, leave a comment underneath. Thanks guys, bye.